All right,
We shall
well,
see.
ladies and gentlemen of the Luca Nation community, we want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Luca's Tigers and Bronzo My. We just before recording this, we had a really special guest on. His name is Patrick Bet-David. You know, a lot of you people more than likely know him or heard of him. He owned the Wayne Gretzky, OPG PSA 10, and he's been in the hobby kind of from a business standpoint since 2010. So that episode is dropping this week. We're really, really excited for you guys to listen to it. So stay tuned. It will come out in just a few days. We got a lot to talk about today, Cage. NCAA games are on, NBA season. I think we got opening day in just, 2-3 days here. So
Yep. Right around the corner. A little opening
there's
day
always,
baseball.
there's always two amazing plays that hopefully you guys can learn from and cash on. So I'll turn it over to you, big man. I know you got off your couch, so what's good?
I get to select I get to select which one of those many topics we're going to talk about. That's pretty awesome. I love it. I feel special today. Let's see. What are we going to go with first? Can we talk for a minute about the quote unquote hobby bubble and the state of the hobby in general, right? And kind of throw that out there for our folks because it's really funny, right? Like I've seen a lot of comments about that, just people messaging us, people just in their overall posts, and wow, the bubble's bursting, and the last month has just been terrible. Everything is down, and I'd like everyone listening to this, because a lot of us are new to the hobby. A lot of people listening to this have got in the last 6 months or in the last year and haven't seen a prolonged dip, let's call it like this. It's only up, right? To the moon, right? Huddle and all this other fun stuff and blah, 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 right?
Rocket emojis on every post.
Yeah, rocket emojis. No, I mean, now you're seeing a whole bunch of chocolate yogurt emojis, right? The soft serve. And, people don't know what that's about when it comes to the hobby, right? So let me say this, right? So everybody's got an opinion, right? And everybody has got a chart. And I want everybody to listen to that, right? So you can put whatever you want on a chart. Seriously. Yes, there's numbers that are behind it, and yes, there's data points that go on the chart. But depending upon the narrator of the story and what story they want to tell, they can, I'm not going to say manipulate the chart, but they can use a chart that helps tell their story. Now, let me give a little more specificity there, right? If you want to show that the hobby is burning to the ground, and you want to show, let's say you're Vegas Dave, and a couple months ago you said, "Oh, the bubble's about to burst, and everything's coming down, and everything's crashing, and the sky is falling, Chicken Little," right? If you wanted to support that, you'd pull a chart from the February highs. You wouldn't go past that. You would throw up probably like a 30-day chart. And at the beginning of that 30-day chart would be all the prices would be on the left side of the chart much higher. And you'd show a little bit of a downward arrow, and it would support the argument that the prices have collapsed and we're in a bubble that has burst and this is crazy, right? Now, if you were on the other side of that coin and you were somebody who would say that we're in the first inning or the second inning of the hobby, maybe what you do is you take a 3-year or a 4-year or even a 5-year chart on the hobby, and you go back 4 or 5 years, and that February that was so prominently higher and that down little dip there down to the end, now you take that out over 5 years instead of 1 month, and what you're going to see is that where we are now is still significantly higher than where we were 5 years ago. You see almost a straight up arrow. Sure, there are going to be peaks and valleys, but overall that chart over time is going to show an upward trajectory, and there's a lot to be learned from that, right? So the first thing to learn is be careful where you're getting your information from, and be careful about what narrative is being spun by that information. Not every chart is the same, and not every chart is attempting to tell you the same story, right? And don't just be quick to react to one chart, because both of those are accurate charts and both of those are accurate narratives. And I want to make sure I'm not crapping on anyone here, because when prices go down, what I've also found is that people's feelings get hurt a lot easier, right? When the going's good for everybody, we're all riding high, we're all popping champagne and giving each other high fives, sure. But when people start to lose a little money in the hobby, whether it's on paper or in reality, all of a sudden everybody takes offense to everything. Everybody's getting personally attacked with their cards. And, you bring up a Charizard after somebody paid more for it and you say, hey, it went down. Or you bring up a Jordan, or you bring up hey, I told you the bubble was going to burst on that LeBron when it was $45,000 and now it's 24. People are now a little emotional over that, rightfully. Go ahead.
Are you sensing that? So, like,
oh, 100%.
As you're talking, I pulled up a chart of Tesla, right? Because we kind of use Tesla as, like, for some reason, that epitome of the stock market. And over the last month, it's down 13%, which is a pretty substantial drop for a sizable company. At the same time, and I've told you guys this on Luca Nation, I've been kind of sitting on the sidelines. It doesn't mean I haven't bought cards, but I wouldn't say I've been as aggressive as I may have been 6, 7, 8 months ago. I don't feel that the hobby bubble has popped or that cards have dropped. I'm curious. I actually have seen a lot of cards go up in value. Is it the panic because, the Charizard, the Jordan, and the LeBron Chrome, kind of the 3 pinnacle cards, those have kind of pulled back? Do you think that's causing some angst? Because
they're high profile, right? They're high profile cards, so that's,
But simultaneously, in that time, Soto, Acuna, Betts, Bellinger, Trout cards have gone up, have they not?
Well, you're telling a very different story than someone who just wants to focus on the Kobe's and the LeBrons and tell a story of a hobby that's got a bubble that's bursting.
But those cards went absurd. That LeBron Chrome was $8,000, $9,000.
That's the thing, right? Maybe it got a little ahead of itself. It doesn't mean the bubble's bursting. But for somebody who bought it higher than it is now, they're more susceptible to a messaging from someone saying the hobby is falling apart, the sky is falling, because they're underwater on that card. And it's a high-profile card. And someone who bought that card at its peak might not be someone who's been in the hobby that long, might not be someone who's in the hobby at all, might be some other type of an investor who's seeing a chart and saying, wow, look at this, I made a mistake. I bought this high. But you know what? I love your Tesla thing because, it's a perfect example of a chart that if you just look at the last month, it's down. But if you look at it over time, it's huge. But take those cards you were just talking about. Use the LeBron. I know people who bought the card when it was $10,000 or $12,000, and it fell back down to $7,500. I'm not even talking about me, like the idiot that bought it for $1,000 and sold it for $2,500, because that happened also.
It was actually a play I gave right after the title, which was not the best play, but it was 10, 11, 12,000 and fell down to 7,500. So go ahead.
I know people who were like, oh my God, I bought this thing at the high. I bought it at 12, 12.5. I'm underwater at 7. I got to get out of it now. People were offering me the card in trade. I'll give you the LeBron for a Luka Silver. And they were people who listened to the show. And I said, listen, that's not a card you trade out of, especially you're underwater on it. That's a card just sit on. Put it back in your pocket. It's going to go up, right? And look, it went from 75 to 12 to 15 to 20 to 40. That card's almost the same. Look, talk about the Jordan 9, right? Because that's a card that's got some population to it also, right? Okay. That Jordan 9 flew because the 10 went up, but now the 10 has come down and the 9 is going down with it, right? But if you are a believer in the hobby, if you're a believer in the high-end cards, a believer in fractional shares and all that stuff, that 10 will go back up, right? It'll hit a bottom. Right, and we can argue now about whether or not it's at the bottom now, or whether the bottom's $250,000 or 300,000. But ultimately, I am very confident in saying that card will continue to go back up, and so will the 9. Right, so the 9 will go up with it as well. Now, what was that card? $80,000, $90,000. The 9 was crazy, right? $80,000, $90,000. I mean, it got too far ahead of itself. And if you look at the chart on it for the last month, it's down. But if you look at the chart over time, and that's the thing, right? You have to know what kind of a card investor you are, what you're doing with the cards, right? Because if you're looking to invest in something and make that money over the next month, maybe some of these cards are not the best idea for you because they may continue to go down over the next month. But if
you know what I'm hearing? Go ahead. Please finish.
I was saying, if you're looking at it with a longer view, those cards are pretty safe. They're at the bottom. They're nearing their bottom. That's my take on it. Go ahead. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing there's a lack of personal responsibility in the hobby. So, like, when your investment doesn't go the way you want it to, it's nobody's fault. It's yours. You made a bad investment decision. And if you want to be successful, you have to take ownership and analyze what that decision was. I'll give you an example. Why I kind of use this metaphor of stocks. I think stocks are cool as a comparison to cards because they move like cards, but a lot more quickly. Is that fair to say? So like
It
when you
is.
see a stock going up, especially in day trading, there's this effect, and we actually talk about it quite a bit, is it's the buying effect, right? When you see a card go up, people start chasing it, right? They don't want to miss out on the returns. With your Trae Young Silver PSA 10 before season started, people would scoop that up at any price below 3,000 because they thought that next week it would be 3,100, 32, 33, 34, right? They're chasing the return. But that's a lesson. I did that myself. I still do that. But what I've learned is, and this is the personal responsibility, it wasn't anyone's fault that my asset, I bought it too high and now it's come down and I'm underwater on it. It was my fault for chasing. It was my fault for not being patient. It was my fault for not doing the research, and I need to take the responsibility to analyze what did I do wrong with this investment decision, how can I do it better next time. And I haven't been on Instagram as much recently, Cage, so I haven't heard the naysayers and some of the things that you're saying, but I think if I could share one thing with our Luca Nation community, which I think is the best out there, and we try to share things that we really, really believe. It's you gotta, if you want everyone to clap and you want to be proud of yourself and you want your family to be proud of you and all this other stuff that comes with winning through investments, you also have to take personal ownership when your investments don't go right. And those are actually the opportunities for you to learn and improve as an investor so that 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, speculative markets are going nowhere. They're just not going. If it's not cards, it's coins. If it's not coins, it's art. There's always going to be investment. And if you're really in this for the long haul, take some responsibility and learn how to use this lesson and improve for the future. So,
well, also remember, if you believed in the fundamentals of that card when you bought it, right, and the fundamentals of the card haven't changed, and what I mean by that is the pop hasn't doubled, because that happens, right? The fundamentals on a card, especially modern stuff, could change. But the fundamentals haven't changed. There hasn't been major news, no injury, no nothing. You're talking about like a GOAT type of card where the fundamentals haven't changed and just the market landscape has changed a little bit. You know what? Stick to your guns. Stick to your fundamentals. I mean, I'm not saying not to cut bait, right? There are times where you have to cut your losses and do it, but usually that's not going to be on a Michael Jordan card or a LeBron card. That's not the ones you should be looking to cut your losses on. Because, as long as you extend out your investment period on that, you should be fine. And really, I mean, I'm going to roll into my play if you allow me from this, right? Because
sure.
I've seen a lot of people tackle this in different ways, right? I try to be funny. I tell people, Australia, I'm bigger than the blooming onion. I try to have some fun with this stuff, right? And I've seen people attack it a bunch of ways, like money making. Hey, the investment, and here's how to flip, and here's how to. You know what? I got into this hobby as a kid. I got back into it because I had a kid. I got into it because it's fun, right? And if we can make a clippable video clip of it, this is it, man. Don't forget the fun. And I understand that this is, for a lot of people, a money-making thing, right? This is a business, and I get that. But remember, what's going to draw people to these cards, to these collectibles? It's nostalgia. It's fun. It's some form of attachment. And you can't miss that forest for the trees, right? You have to remember what it is that makes people collect and therefore spend their money on these things, right?
I would argue the best business is fun, actually.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of ways, like I never really understood this concept, but fun needs to be a priority. Just like gains and profit taking is a priority, make sure that you prioritize fun. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, well, because listen, some of the best investments, we've had people like Jeremy Padower on, we've had Gary on, we've had people, and they talk about what they're investing in and why. And yeah, they talk about the market cap of the company. They talk about the legs, the investments, you name it. But you know what? what they're talking about is there's an attachment, there's fun. We talk about Harry Potter stickers. Why? Because we remember how much fun we had reading those books, right? We talk about Star Wars as a brand. Why? Because it was fun to watch those movies and learn the new characters, and it was fun, right? So I'm going to give you a play today, and you know what? It may not make you money, but it might. But you know what it's going to do? It's going to bring some fun back into the collection, because I think really we need a little bit of that right now. We need a little bit of that. When the hobby's down, you need to find a way to make yourself smile in the hobby, right? So Ian, we've been home. It's your vacation now. We've been home a lot during this COVID. We've watched one movie
Not even.
about 1,000,000 times, right? This one movie about 1,000,000 times. What movie?
It's when Will Smith comes.
No, not when Will Smith becomes a pigeon. But yes, we watch that a lot too. What about what we're watching right now?
Uncle Drew.
We've watched Uncle Drew, right? We're watching Uncle Drew, not Dora and the Lost City of Gold, weirdo. Now you're being funny. But how many times do we watch this? And you have fun. There's a dance competition in it, and this kid will do the dances. He does the Kyrie Irving dance. He does the Uncle Drew stuff, right? And you know what it reminds me of? My father and I, he's doing the Kyrie Irving dance right now. So my father and I, in the 90s, I was a little older, but there was a movie we watched together basically every time it was on, and the same person is in both of these movies. It's pretty funny, right? Same person in both of these movies. So you got Uncle Drew that I'm going to remember watching with my son, and maybe he's going to remember, down the road when he's got money investing in the whole deal, little Uncle Drew. And you know what I remember? Big fella in this. Who plays big fella, buddy? Shaq, exactly. So in the 90s, I think it was 94, Shaq had a movie also. It was called Blue Chips. McNulty, Penny Harding, not Kazam. Blue Chips. If you haven't seen the movie, go check the movie out, man. It's a lot of fun. It was
Blue Chips was a song of Jay-Z.
No, that's Blueprint.
Oh.
But close though. Blueprint is Jay-Z. And it's also KRS. He stole the album, according to Nas, but it is what it is. So on to the fun, right? It's funny how these things are cyclical, right? So I didn't realize this, but I'm going to go buy them. I'll give you guys a chance to buy them. But Skybox made a Blue Chips card. It's 1994 Skybox Blue Chips. I just saw a box for like 30-something bucks. So a whole sealed box. There's, I think his name in the movie was Neon Boudreaux, Shaquille O'Neal. It's a great movie. Go ahead and check it out. It's really funny, like 90s cheese. It's a lot of fun. But I didn't know this, and now I do. Panini made Uncle Drew cards. Kyrie, you want to invest in Kyrie? He's coming. You want a 2015? You got a 5-card Kyrie Irving set, Uncle Drew. So
Kyrie's kind of the antithesis of fun.
Yeah, he has fun in his own right. He likes to sage on fire and he does his stuff, right? But the point is, there's a million ways to attack cards, right? And look, guys, you want another investment side of this? It's easy. Right now, the way stuff's been beat down, go out and buy yourself a paper Kobe rookie. Go out and buy yourself a paper Tim Duncan rookie. It's about as safe as it can get right now with the way those prices have gone down. I guarantee, not financial advice, and insert all of your blah, 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 blah. Right? So chances are those cards will be worth more than they are right now. They've been beaten up for no reason. Tim Duncan hasn't torn his ACL. Tim Duncan hasn't, come out on the court and thrown up a stinker of a game and missed 12 free throws. Neither has Kobe, obviously. Those cards have just been beat down because the overall market has been beat down a little bit. There's a Kobe documentary coming out, the whole deal. You want those plays? You got those plays. Those are easy. I want to have fun. So today, I'll give you guys a chance. This way, I'm not buying them all up, but I'm going to go on and I'm going to go buy some Uncle Drew cards, Pepsi Panini. It's like a 5-card set. $10. $10 for a 5-card set. Have some fun, right? What's $10 cost you, right? And you know what? Throw that in your collection. Who is it? I think it's Steve, Sportrepreneur, right? So from one of our groups, he's got like graded blue chip cards. And they sell for a decent amount of money, those Shaq ones.
Steve actually does do a good job of having fun in the hobby. Like
having fun.
If you look at Steve, we've been in a group together. You've had Sasha, Tomadon, Lou, Tyler, Slab Stocks, all of these guys with their amazing collections. And Steve, he's happy for every one of them. He's the first person cheering, and he has these cards that are like very odd but cool.
Obscure. Like Barry Sanders' police card. Yeah. It's a rookie card, but it's not the rookie card anybody else was chasing except Steve. It's fun though. He's having fun. There's room for that in the hobby, You know
what's interesting? So we just had Patrick Bet David on. He made an interesting comparison. And it comes up over and over and over and over again. Before I get to my play, let's talk about this. How he compared Zion to Shaq, right?
Yep.
And the more I see it, think about, here's another little comparison. Shaq cards came out during what? The junk wax era.
Yep.
Zion cards he kind of came out during the junk slab era.
Yeah.
Who's been more? Zion just dominant in the paint. Shaq's dominant in the paint. I'm seeing more and more comparisons and more overlap between Shaq and Zion as a player, as an investment opportunity, from a cards perspective. The patterns are really interesting the more I think about it.
I couldn't agree more. But point, have some fun. And if Zion's fun, man, he's fun. Look at the blocks. Look what he does. He's fun to invest in. Also, I wouldn't mind. Anyway, guys, listen, we're not telling you to go out there and, I like this person, so I'm going to spend all my money on Terrence Ross. He's having a good year, but I don't know what those cards are going to do for you as an investment over time. Put a little bit in if you're a Terrence Ross fan, right? Go right ahead, but have some fun.
Can I give a tactic
to have
please.
Fun?
So, I think we've all been through peaks and valleys, highs and lows in our life, and a quote sticks with me anytime. You kind of, as you get older, you have these mantras, right? Gratitude is a huge mantra. Like when you're in this pattern of comparing yourself and having these thoughts of I don't have enough, take inventory of what you do have, right? Gratitude's a big thing. But here's another one. When you're feeling helpless, be helpful. So a way to have fun in the hobby is to, you all have friends in the hobby. You all have people you've interacted with in the hobby. You all have people, that you become kind of virtual friends with, right? You don't know them, but you're Instagram friends. You chat on DM and stuff like that. Well, a few of those guys' favorite players, and you could, for $5 to $10, send them a gift, just impromptu, just with a little note says, "Hey, man, I know you love Zion, or I know you love Trey, or I know you love Luka, or I know you're an SGA fan, or I know your son is a big fan of Kyrie." Write a little handwritten note and send a card, and send a few of those out to people. That's a good way to have fun, and I think you'll really enjoy it too. You'll feel good.
Little random acts of kindness and that kind of stuff. I like it. I definitely do.
One of the, humans, we've evolved over the years, and one of the things we've evolved from is tribal creatures. So there's this law of reciprocity, and it's really interesting. When you make someone else feel good, you by default feel good. It's a self-preservation kind of thing. So it's really fascinating. If you know what you
So you're more of a giver than a receiver, is what you're saying? Or you need both?
I would actually say they're two sides of the same coin.
Mm. All right.
My play today is on PSA 9's gaining value. So I was thinking about this yesterday.
Right.
I gave you guys a Terrence Ross play. I was like, hey, buy his cards yesterday, his Prism cards for $1, $2, $3. But in reality, Cage, and this is something new that's changed, I don't know if you realize this, you can't grade those yet. You have to wait for him to become at least a potential star to be like, okay, I can get ahead of this curve. Now it's worth grading.
Yep.
They're sort of ungradable, right? And the thing that will come from that, in my opinion, is a rise in PSA 9s. So I go on eBay. I'm starting to look, really even adding PSA 9 to the search. And I'm adding key terms. So I'm adding Topps Chrome, Refractor, PSA 9s. That was the search. And then I look and I see Tom Brady's 2008 Topps Chrome Refractor and a PSA 9, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card. It's a black border. It's not a black refractor, actually, but it's a black border card, not the leader's card. It's the Tom Brady 2008 Topps Chrome Refractor. And a PSA 9, that's a $250 card. So that's my play today. I brought you a 2008 Tom Brady Topps Chrome before. I am very cautious with recommending grading at this point. It's just, I haven't gone through the cycle. I don't know how financially feasible it is. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, more people are in the same boat as I am. There's going to be less people sending in lower to lower middle end cards, which I think this card will fit that criteria. Less people are going to be sending this card in because, they have to pay $100 for grading. If it gets a 7 or an 8, they're losing money. So I think there's going to be way less of these types of cards, these $100 to $500 cards sent in. And you could scoop a refractor, which we know the hobby loves refractors, don't they, Cage?
They do.
The hobby loves X-fractors, refractors, and the hobby loves Topps Chrome, and the hobby loves Tom Brady. And you could get all three of those in one for $200 to $300. And I think you could go digging for these PSA 9s because there's some cool ones. There's X refractors from that year. There's red refractors from that year. But I would change as much as the hobby does love the PSA 10s. I think there's some cheap, iconic PSA 9s floating out there, and I think this is one of them.
So I like the play for more than just Brady. I think what you're going to see is those GOATs, those iconic guys, your Kobe's, your Brady's, your Jordans, that the 10s are just going to become invisible. All right, you're just not going to have many. They're going to be held in funds. They're going to be, sold to fractional share companies, you name it. And the 9s for those GOATs will start to become the liquid cards, the tradable cards. Like your Prism Silver 10s. I think the 9s will be kind of like the ones that you can actually get a hold of, and they won't be $200 anymore. So that's why I like to play. Let me get in on now.
What's interesting with 9s when you get them in this price range, they actually go up more than the 10s sometimes, right? Like the 10s might double in that same time, where this $280 card goes to $1,000, right? Like we don't think about that, but that's a nice return. That's a 3x return. And I definitely see that happening. I still think Brady's a little bit. I'm excited for this year. Brady's this guy who, I mean, it's hard to win one championship, Cage, but It's hard to come back and be hungrier to win another one, and that's a rare quality. Guys, success
repeating is impossible. Repeating is impossible in the football, especially.
And the guy's he's won 7 titles. It's insane. It's insane. His legacy is. I think we're gonna appreciate his legacy more and more as his career comes to an end. So
yeah, I mean, listen, he is in his own. He's in his own world now. There's nobody in the sport you can compare him to. And you're at a point, of course, where it doesn't even matter what he does in this coming year. Obviously he's got some expectations, but winning another Super Bowl would just bring his cards, which are already in the stratosphere, into unknown territory. But it's not like him not winning a Super Bowl is going to really have some sort of a crazy impact on his cards. So I'm not that concerned. But yeah, I like the 9 play, man, because it's one of those things where I think you're ahead of the curve on that, because that's something that's going to be playing out over the next year as the PSA changes start to impact what's going on with cards. And it's funny because I may have it before our next episode, because Prism's supposed to street on Wednesday. I may actually get my box tomorrow. I'm getting a box of Prism to open with Ian. Yeah, that's right, dude. We're going to open a box of basketball Prism together. So, yeah, I know you can hear me. So I might get it before it hits the street. I'm getting a lot of messages from people about what's going to happen with the pricing, what's going to happen with the stuff. People who do team breaks. Bro Namath talked about that on his episode, doing team breaks. They were able to buy like the Spurs, for $50 for a case last time around, or whatever it may be, right? Well, now it's like 6 times the price because the box price is so much money. And, they're like, hey, are these going to fill? Are people going to be able to do box breaks even? Are you going to be able to do case breaks? Like, how are you going to, are they going to, people aren't willing to pay the kind of money they all, what do you think? Especially with LaMelo injured. I'm curious to see what winds up happening with Prism this year, price wise. But more importantly, to go back to your topic, the prices are what they are. If the cards aren't going to be thousands of dollars, what are people going to do to grade them? That is this. If I have one big question mark about what 2021's like, I have no problem with the hobby. The hobby's going to be great. The hobby's going to be here for a long time. I want to see what happens. Are people going to be sending in Prism base cards with 5-day grading to be the first ones to get them back? Are people sending them to BGS? Are people sending them to SGC? What's the cutoff going to be for a rookie? In last year's Prism, it didn't matter. You got a Cam Reddish, you sent it in, right? You got a Jared Culver, you sent it in. You got Brandon Clark, you sent it in. I mean, are we just talking about only sending in this year, Edwards, Wiseman, and LaMelo? Is Patrick Williams making the cut? The number 4 guy, is he making the cut? Are you losing money sending in somebody beneath them? Is Cole Anthony Prism worth sending in for PSA? I don't know.
I would actually argue those plays are more underwater plays than LeBron Topps Chrome. one, you're sitting waiting, wishing that they hit some kind of future price that may or may not happen. The LeBron Chrome, you already know it hit its high. It just dipped down.
Yep.
So I don't. That's what's so Brandon Clark. Let's use him as an example, right? That card was 130 in a PSA 10. It actually dipped to $50 during this little dip on a PSA 10. Let's say he has a serviceable career, decent career, nothing crazy. Does that card ever go up?
It may go up. It may ride the tide. You know what I mean? Like that guy, if he's playing, if modern starts to go up, it may go back up to 100. It might not have to go to the 130 it was at, but it may go up.
More specifically, what will happen to the PSA 10 modern base market that's under $100? I guess that's the specific question.
Yeah, that's the question. I don't know, and I can't wait to see. Because listen, it may be that those cards go up in value solely because PSA 10s of these guys they're not going to be there anymore. People are not grading these levels of cards. People will be doing raw. People won't be spending the money to grade them. You know, if the price to play is $25, $30 just to grade a guy, you can't sell 10s for $40.
Right.
You're losing money on it, you know?
And what you're seeing in the beginning is they're changing hands, right? But once they change hands, who's, let's say I bought in for 50. I'm not going to sell that card, right?
Yep. You got to wait for it to go up.
I'm so curious what will happen to the PSA 10s of modern, and this is NBA, football, and baseball, of guys that are under $100 with this new grading increase. I'm fascinated. I don't know. I do not know.
Well, it will play out because Prism is here. And, you know, the sad part is with Prism coming out, you can expect anything you were holding before, whether it be a Hoops or a Revolution or, an Absolute or whatever the heck has come out already. Those cards will no longer be desirable. Anybody who's looking to buy one of these rookie cards is going to try to get one of the Prisms, and the other ones are all going to probably lose a quarter of their value. So be mindful of that fact, folks.
Just to wrap this, at the end of our conversation with Patrick Bet-David, he actually talks about how he has the itch to start a business in the sports card hobby. And this weekend he spent calling people he knows to discuss that, right?
Yep.
The state of the hobby's going nowhere. Card prices going up and down doesn't mean that Wall Street's going away, if that makes sense. Stock prices going up and down doesn't mean that Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and all these big banks are closing down. So, you see Dan Fleischman with the Coffee Breaker store. Gary's pushing his media company as high as ever. I'm putting Cage to sleep here, so I'm going to wrap it. But
well, you mentioned Gary. Gary's he put me to sleep. He's good. Yeah. Every tweet now.
You're upset with his doodles. You're not. Yeah, you're not understanding the doodles, or you're understanding it too much.
Too many doodles. I love it. You just make every other tweet a doodle. Make it. Give me something else. Give me some meat here. Give me something about start pumping another card. Talk to me about the Giannis.
You know what doodle I would make for you? You're a happy hippo.
I'm a happy hippo. I'll take it. I'm a hungry hippo. That was a great game. You ever play Hungry Hippos?
Yeah, you got to eat all the balls off the board.
Yeah, I don't know what M word I would use for me. Can you got an M word that you'd use for me?
Magical man.
Magical. The magical manatee. I always thought of myself as a manatee, like a sea cow. Little mustache, little hairy whiskered, sea cow. Gentle. Gets stuck in a boat propeller, because I can't move, that kind of stuff. I like the manatee. That's my spirit animal, I think, if I had to come up with one. All right. Well, listen, with that lunacy,
I'm a purple wave poodle.
You're a purple poodle. You 100% are. Nah, I don't know what you are. I'll take the purple poodle. I don't think I can improve upon that. No, dude, you're a blue hedgehog. You're Sonic. The next movie in the rotation.
I think that's fair. I'm prickly on the outside, but once you get to know me, I have a huge heart, and I'm very kind and generous to people.
And very fast. And quick-witted.
Shifty, quick.
Quick-witted. Well, listen, guys, we hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different. This is just, we don't prep these things. We don't have an agenda when we come in this. But, I've seen the hobby, folks, people taking some lumps. And, one of the ways to combat that is to remember why you got into this. Remember what you love about it, right? It's a hobby. It's fun. I know we're all in it to make a little money, and it's better to make money than not make money, of course. But, find something that's fun for you, whether it's the Blue Chips cards or the Uncle Drew cards or something else that brings back some fun and nostalgia from your youth. And don't worry about it. Before you know it, whatever card you're underwater on, it'll come back in price. It's just the way it works.
It will become the Titanic.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy, Luca Nation. Thank you.